In this video, I'm going to show you an AI-powered B2B marketing process that will get you sales. Now, there's quite a lot of value in here, but I thought I'd give it away for free. But it is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's also not one of those automation videos which shows you how to scrape thousands of leads and auto-message them all. Does anyone ever get a reply to those? I get about 5 to 10 cold outreach emails a day, and I cannot remember the last time I replied to any of them. But this process isn't about that. It's about graft and building up a long-term audience who will consider you top of mind when they reach a buying decision. You will get inbound leads and you will get sales. Now, it relies a lot on LinkedIn, so if you're not interested in using that platform, this video probably isn't for you. But if you do use it or are thinking of using it, then by following this process, you will get sales. I've got quite a few different tactics that can help you build reach and engagement, while I'll also show you 9 different tools that can help with this AI-powered process. And we're not using AI to pump out loads of content slop either. This is a process to help you look like an authoritative thought leader, which means you will get sales. Let's get into it. Now, the good news is that following this process for 6 months has led to me being very busy. We're a small consultancy, but the process has worked. What we want to do in the first instance is to publish regularly to LinkedIn, but then add on some bigger, higher engagement content. These two content approaches should work together to help you grow an engaged LinkedIn audience. Then, having acquired an audience, you'll want to get them signed up to a regular email newsletter. We're really aiming to refine our leads at this point, and we can start scoring them before sending out direct messages. The final stage is to get them into the sales process. It's not something that will just work overnight. You'll need to be methodical and objective, and not worry too much about vanity metrics like LinkedIn likes and impressions. Ultimately, this is about sales. There are tools that can help with each step of the way, but your first focus is to grow the width at the top of your funnel. I've been posting on LinkedIn for a year now, including weekends, but in the last 6 months, I've doubled down on the agentic proposition. We work with media organizations and content-focused companies in building out AI workflows and automations. So posting about AI every day really strengthens my authority. But it's with big content where I've seen the most traction. So big content, what do I really mean by that? Well, basically it's longer form content of about 4,000 to 5,000 words in length. An authoritative white paper could be slightly under this, but a 40-minute podcast conversation is likely to have this amount of information in it. A 25-minute YouTube video is as well. Now, video is my favoured long-term option, as I think YouTube will just keep growing. And if you start now, you'll likely gain the added benefit of search. It's also highly effective because you can clip up your longer form content and redistribute it on other networks easily. But it's expensive to do consistently. You need a good presenter, quite a bit of space, a good recording setup, and editing resource. So it's probably not going to be the first point of call if you're just starting out with creating content. Podcasts are also very popular, and they have the added benefit of being effective as a networking tool. If you get guests on your show, you're essentially having a casual business meeting, and they could turn into leads and opportunities later. The drawback is you need to do them regularly to get audience traction, so they can take up a lot of time through things like sourcing guests. This can be difficult to manage if you're a busy founder and you don't have a team around you. I like white papers the most because I come from a writing background and they don't involve the multimedia editing of the other two. They're also not as time reliant. You can publish a white paper whenever you want really, and if you distribute it well, it'll get traction. But you don't have to be wedded to these formats. Your big content could really be a good internal presentation, sales presentation, or playbook. Big content is just something different to the ordinary 100-word post you see on LinkedIn that will help you be positioned as a thought leader. A key point with big content is that it's recyclable. You've invested a lot of time in this asset and you need to sweat it again and again and preferably again. I tend to avoid news or content about product feature releases because these are likely to go out of date. Try to make your content evergreen and update it every so often. We released a white paper about Google AI overviews in March and that did quickly go out of date. But the underlying fundamentals of the paper are still sound, and we can redistribute it with the caveat that we first published it in March. It's also worth thinking about the performance of your social posting and if you can upscale it. Let's say you have a post that performs well above average. Can you scale the idea up into a newsletter, or perhaps even into a white paper? Now, big content might sound a bit intimidating. You have to produce something quite significant, and with that will probably come some research, particularly if you're going to do a white paper. But this is where my first AI tool comes in. Both ChatGPT and Google Gemini have deep research functionality on their paid plan. You can prompt them to return a lot of cited material and provide something of a structure for your chosen topic. Just as an example, at the start of 2025 there was a lot of talk about AI agents, but it was still pretty difficult to find any in-depth material about them, particularly through Google search. So I took to deep research with the prompt, "I'm planning to do a white paper on AI agents. Could you give me an overview of what they are, the different types of agent, and their potential? I also need you to look at authoritative sources like BCG and McKinsey." The deep research agent went to work and came back with about 5,000 words of information. Given how long this would have taken me before, this outcome was amazing. I reviewed what it provided and most of it checked out, although some of the writing was a bit guffy. But most importantly, I did learn some new concepts and got fast access to a wide range of sources. Now there might be a temptation to lightly edit some deep research and put that out as your white paper. I don't recommend this. As I said, the writing can be guffy and you need to be careful with the sources, else you're at risk of looking like an AI charlatan rather than a thought leader, which is the exact reverse of what we want. Deep research to me is a starting guide, not the finished article, but you can use it as a first step even before your first draft. Now, you can just get going with posting to LinkedIn before you start creating big content. It helps to start and get into the habit. I've got to say, yes, it can appear a bit awkward at first. It's a bit cringe, but it works. You can build an audience simply from your connections, and most likely, these are the people who are going to buy from you. Getting into the habit of posting every day without fail has been vital for me, and it could well be for you. Now, the key to unlocking that value is consistency. I've posted every day on LinkedIn for over a year. That includes weekends. And while not every post has been a hit, that consistency has built familiarity, credibility, and a clear proposition over time. A single post probably won't change your pipeline, but showing up every day with thoughtful, useful insights will. But some people struggle to get started on LinkedIn, or when they do, they just can't sustain it. The first challenge is knowing what to write about, then staying consistent. If you're not sure what to post, or you feel like you're repeating yourself, this is where AI tools like Say What come into play. It's designed specifically to support LinkedIn founder creators, and it does a good job of reducing the mental load. One of its strengths is the Inspiration tab. It pulls in high-performing content from others in your field, helping you see what works and why. You can also filter this by time period, keyword, and content type. So if you want to see all videos from last week when the post mentioned ChatGPT, you can do that. But more than that, it can also learn your voice. If you haven't posted to LinkedIn before, then it won't have much to go off. But if you have, then over time, it can start suggesting content ideas based on what you've already said, what's trending, and what your audience has responded to. It can write in your tone of voice too. Importantly, these are starting points, not final drafts. I still write almost everything from scratch, but occasionally using Say What means I get inspiration or a new angle that I wouldn't have thought of. And occasionally I also get a draft. When you're trying to publish daily while also running a business or team, that time saving can be significant. An alternative to using something bespoke like Say What is to build your own custom GPT. These are really easy to set up and can combine with your big content to create LinkedIn posts. To create one, you'll need a ChatGPT subscription. Then you'll navigate to the top left and head into the GPT area. You can make your own GPT just by hitting Create. A custom GPT is a kind of self-contained agent that has a lot of flexibility. You can write in its name and description, basically what it does, and then give it instructions. What I really find useful is taking your big content and putting that into its knowledge base. For instance, your white papers or podcast transcripts. You can then instruct the GPT to write out LinkedIn posts based on the contents of its knowledge base. If all your content is video or podcasts, then you could also use a transcription tool like Whisper to get a text version that your custom GPT will be able to process. You can also give it background context of who you are and what you do, which is useful for getting the tone right. Also, for it to remove em-dashes and make other small style tweaks. Just a note on tooling. People often ask, do you have to use ChatGPT? And the short answer is no. If you're already using Google Workspace heavily, Gemini might be a better fit. It integrates more smoothly with Docs, Sheets, and Gmail. Its multimodal capabilities and images are also ahead in some use cases. Using it in combination with Google Drive is a nice touch. So say if you've transcribed several meetings using Gemini, then you can also use it to create an overall summary document fast. Claude is another alternative. It's particularly good at working with longer documents and maintaining coherence in its outputs. It's popular with writers and coders, although it's not as widely used as ChatGPT or Gemini. The important thing is not which chatbot you use, but how you use it. If you need something that works with Google systems, then use Gemini. But ChatGPT is a good general purpose chatbot. You don't need to worry much about the details. All the leading chatbots are pretty comparable. Now you've got your workflow down, we need to think about some tactics. The first is some LinkedIn posting basics. Even if, like me, you've been posting to LinkedIn for a year or more, then sometimes it's just handy to do some revision. If you're in the daily grind, it's easy to forget the basics. So let's run through my top 5 pointers. I've actually forgotten them myself of late, so it's good to go back through them. First, your hook. Think of your opening sentence like an article headline. It's a way to persuade your audience to read the rest of your post. So think of curiosity gaps and clear statements. Don't make it more than 2 sentences long and avoid it running over 3 lines. Just try and be as clear as possible, but ask yourself, is this opening fundamentally interesting? Does it bring my readers in? Second is to use iMore. Your LinkedIn profile is about you. It's your personal brand, your opinion, your views. People aren't following you for broad journalistic news, and posts about politics, just forget it. You're likely to annoy 50% of your audience even if you get good engagement. Instead, think about your lived experience and your take. This is what I mean by using iMore, your own interpretation and experience. Third is to break up the formatting. And I don't mean having long streams of consciousness like 3-word lines. That's the other extreme, and it's just as ridiculous as putting your text in one unreadable paragraph. More than 50% of your audience will be reading your post on mobile. The text on mobile is tiny, so you need to help your audience out. Break up paragraphs so they are 1 to 2 sentences long, maybe 3 lines, but not longer than 5. I normally use an image. 4x5 dimensions give a bit more space to you on the feed than landscape or square. It's not a deal breaker, but it helps. When I'm shorter on time, I just use text. I do know that if you post selfies all the time, you'll get good engagement amongst your existing connections, but you won't get as many wider impressions. The LinkedIn algorithm knows what you look like because you have a profile picture. So posting selfies all the time doesn't work for reach. So use images and mix up the selfies. The last part is to think about engagement. Comments on your posts are far more useful than likes as they get amplified a lot more. I would say on a ratio of at least 10 to 1. So think about how your posts encourage comments. Are they a talking point? Can you end with a question? If yes to both of these, that's good. You'll get more engagement. And make sure you get into the comments to keep the conversation going. Now we've got over the basics. I swear if you just apply those, you'll be ahead of 9 out of 10 people posting to LinkedIn. Those are the people who eventually give up because it just doesn't add up otherwise. If you write bad hooks that draw very few people in and what you've written is a formatting mess, no image, no talking points, then obviously it's going to fall flat. You'll be burned out within weeks, if not days, and you'll stop. And all of this would have been a waste of time. So apply those basics with rigour. Now, if you've got a good rhythm of posting and engagement going on, you might want to mix it up a bit. I've used video quite a lot, maybe 1 or 2 a week, and it just gives you something a bit different. Some people use video all the time. I think it would be pretty difficult to do video every day unless you had an editing and distribution team behind you, but there are some workarounds. Just go back to Say What. It's great for seeing what the latest AI video trends are. When Google's Veo 3 came out, a lot of people were sharing AI creations, and the benefit is no copyright on AI content. You're free to take these and put them out with your own take, but you might not have any reason to be talking about Veo 3. So, if not, this tactic isn't really relevant. But one tactic that I think is totally worth it is using an avatar. The reason being is that having a good video creator setup is quite an investment, and filming yourself walking around on your back camera, I'm just not too sure about that one. It can work for some, but for a lot of people it just ends up a mess. Cars driving past, shaky, loads of ums. Added to that, it's just embarrassing. You're walking along a road talking to a phone. If you've got no shame, then that's fine, but I've got a bit, and I'm not up for walking around shouting at my phone. It just doesn't look great. Some people just aren't naturals on camera either, but having presented video is good for building reach. So I've played around with avatars quite a bit, and I've always been impressed with the results. Most of the time, I'm just showing what I can do with an avatar, but then I got into a flow of using avatars for other types of content. I ran a test for a week or so, and I got some pretty good results. People started asking me if my avatar was presenting or if it was really me. If you can pull off a good setup, then your audience won't be any worse off. They won't be annoyed about it either. I know because I've done it 20 times and got out of the uncanny valley. They can work well. I've also done another video about how you can produce a perfect avatar, so make sure you check that one out. I just think at some point these AI representations of ourselves are going to be so realistic you cannot tell at all. When this happens, the people already using avatars are going to be better off. It's going to be a big productivity hack, particularly on social media. Think if you combine your big content with a custom GPT, you're able to get LinkedIn posts pretty much on demand. Then you can add them into an avatar generator like HeyGen, and you can have a video of your post too. I'll admit, using an avatar isn't going to be for everyone right now, but there's another more practical usage for them: sending sales messages. If you use them on sales messages, are you more likely to get a response? Yes. We ran a test group doing avatar-led sales messages versus text only, and the response rate was much better. You'll probably need more than just you to do this properly, but there's little doubt that a personalized sales message on a video can be more effective than just sending DMs. Video can really help drive your reach and views, but lead magnets are the best way to drive engagement, and ultimately, your connections. This is where your big content turns into lead generation. You take your white paper and make a preview amount of it, say the first 3 pages, and save that as a PDF that you upload to LinkedIn. Now, make sure that you give this a good hook, such as, we've spent the last week researching this white paper about, insert whatever your topic is. Then describe the process and summarize the paper in 200 words. Then state, to gain access, comment, a keyword, and I'll send it to you. You then send the people who have commented a link to the full version. I first noticed this tactic at the start of 2025, and now it's absolutely everywhere. It's kind of spammy, but unfortunately it just works, and LinkedIn isn't cracking down on it. So I just thought, if you can't beat them, join them. I've distributed 5 white papers like this, and all of them have led to pretty big engagement and new connections. In a couple of cases, I got over 1,000 connection requests in a day. Given I only had 2,000 connections and followers a year ago, this is quite something. Basically, these can really kick off. Because comments are so favoured in the LinkedIn algorithm, this style of requesting comments for access can make posts go viral. Just think everyone commenting on your post is probably seen by 10 others. Even if 2 of these people post their own comment, then you've got something of a viral. And just think about recycling too. If you've invested the time and energy into an asset, distribute it like this, then send it out, then wait a month or 2 and push it out again, perhaps with an update. Just think that on your first distribution, not all your audience would have seen it. By the 4th time, you might have exhausted your options, but I definitely think you can do this a few times with each asset. Now, another way you can recycle is not just in the distribution, but in the presentation too. If you post an asset using this technique, on the 2nd time, it's a good idea to show it in a different light. One of the ways we did this is to use the ChatGPT image generator to create an image of the front cover in 4x5 dimensions, like one of those Instagram book posts that used to be popular. Now, of course, our digital white paper doesn't have a hardback book cover, but this looks good and grabs attention on the feed, which is exactly what we want to do. Another way you can present the PDF is as a video of you scrolling through it to show its comprehensiveness. If you get a viral hit with a lead magnet, then it can be a lot of work. Even 200 comments is a lot to respond to. You can use an application like Phantom Buster to send messages, but it's actually pretty difficult to keep track of over a few days. But let's say you have 500 comments, or over 1,000. It's going to be way too much to take on if you've got a business to run, or even a job. So you're much better off with a virtual assistant. For anyone that's commented and you sent them a link to the asset, like their comment to tick them off the list. The other tip when you're sending out is to send the link to the asset, but also a subtle upsell. So a link to your newsletter is a good one. Perhaps 10% of everyone you send out to will be happy to sign up. So this is a good way to move people down the funnel. Some of the people who connect with you for the lead magnet might not see you much again in the LinkedIn feed, particularly if they're not connected to many of your own connections. But getting them signed up to your newsletter can help get around this problem, and it will be potentially easier to convert them later. So through your big content and lead magnets, you're increasing your LinkedIn connections, but you're also building up a secondary, potentially more valuable audience via a newsletter. But if you're growing your audience, what are you going to send out? I like to use a combination of automation and writing to produce a regular newsletter. I use an AI agent to send me wider AI news every day, and I might pick one of these topics to go into a newsletter once a week. Or we have another method for repurposing our blog RSS feed into newsletter content using no-code tools. My favourite technique is to repurpose your big content into a newsletter. It's extremely easy. Just take the entire PDF and plonk it into a chatbot, then ask the chatbot to write a summary as a 700-word email. Copy and paste that in, a few touch-ups, and you're done. No massive edit of something you've already written is required. This is just a much better way of doing things. Your newsletter could be a great source of leads, and you have permission to contact them by email, but through your regular posting and big content, you'll also have a large amount of new connections. You'll need to sort through these through some lead scoring and remove the people you don't need to contact, but you no longer need to do this manually. Instead, you can build a very simple automation that is able to check your leads against a set criteria and help you filter who your top targets are. What I do is download my connections list and then another from a Sales Navigator search and combine the data sets to give the AI the most information possible to complete the lead scoring. Once you've got the automation and your prompt set up, you can press run and it will be sorted in a couple of hours automatically. This is versus doing it yourself for maybe a day or two. That's a lot of time back. In our final steps, we need to handle the sales outreach properly. Because you've got a stable list of contacts that can only grow when you add to it, you can contact them using an automation tool. There are a few of these around, but I like to use Phantom Buster. It gives you quite a few relevant LinkedIn automation scenarios that will save you time. My primary one is to use the LinkedIn message sender to work through your scored list. It's recommended to send 20 messages a day. For outreach DMs, you can use a few different approaches. I've got a preference for doing something out of the ordinary, like using an avatar. But that doesn't work in automation, so you'll have to go text. You can either go soft, which is to focus on eliciting a response through sending them some of your big content and asking them a question. This can be effective in getting a conversation started without much risk, and it won't matter too much if you auto-send messages to people who you don't think would buy from you. But the alternative route is just to be upfront about what you're offering and what you want to arrange via the message. A sales meeting, probably. So just go ahead and suggest that. You may well find it easier than you expected to arrange meetings. Now, there's a possible point of failure if you send 100 messages a week. You'll be getting messages sent back, and the LinkedIn inbox is in date order without any labeling. Basically, it's not up for this task, and you're likely to find it very confusing very quickly. And this confusion will waste time. Condo is a neat tool for handling your DMs instead. You can label inbound messages very flexibly, meaning it's really easy to message them later. You can also cycle through your messages fast. It's well worth the subscription if you're doing a lot of DMing, and if you get this process right, you will be. Condo is the last tool in this stack, and all in, this stack costs around £300, euros or dollars per month. That might sound a bit expensive, but you don't have to subscribe to everything all at once. Subscribe to ChatGPT or Google Gemini at the very basic level, but as you add more tactics, add more tools. You might also find that once you're at the outreach stage, you don't need tools like Saywhat as much, as that's an inspiration tool to help you get started. But the real expense in this stack comes from LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is optional, and you can just download your connection data anyway. And then there's Phantom Buster, which probably isn't just as optional, but these two things together account for half of the cost for the entire stack. So if you want to be thrifty, turn them on and off. But I think with this setup, you don't need a big team. Yes, it takes a while to build up your authority, but once you have, everything will get easier. And by having a tight system, you'll be more efficient too. So let's just recap this full system. You want to be creating deep, big evergreen content that positions you as an expert. Now you can break this down and redistribute this across formats like LinkedIn and your newsletter on top of your regular posting. Use AI to enhance but not replace your voice, but build a consistent presence on LinkedIn. Nurture your leads with newsletters, score your leads intelligently, and automate the outreach and manage follow-up using something like Condo. If you do this consistently, you will get sales. I promise you. Thanks for watching, everyone. That was my AI-powered sales process. Given you've watched this far, give us a like and a friendly comment. The best way to support us is to send this to a friend or colleague, but you can subscribe too. See you next time. It'll be absolutely agentic.